Hey, so I wanted to touch on a subject right now about Hulk Hogan and I'm going to say this, and I don't give a rat's behind who thinks what. Hulk Hogan was murdered for this.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. You know something? When I came here tonight, there was so much energy in this room. I felt maybe I was in Madison Square Garden getting ready to win another world title. Or maybe I thought the vibe was so intense, the energy was so crazy, it felt like maybe I was gonna press that no-good stinky giant over my head and slam him through the mat, brother. But what I found out was I was in a room full of real Americans, brother. And at the end of the day, with our leader up there, my hero, that gladiator, we're gonna bring America back together. One real American at a time, brother. You know something? I've seen some great tag teams in my time. Hulk Hogan and, ooh yeah, the Macho Man Randy Savage. But you know something? I see the greatest tag team of my life standing upon us, getting ready to straighten this country out for all the real Americans. You know, even though you guys are real Americans, you better get ready. Because when Donald J. Trump becomes the President of the United States, all the real Americans are gonna be nicknamed Trumpites. Because all the Trumpites are gonna be running wild for 4 years. So with the power of Donald J. Trump and all the Trumpites running wild, America is gonna get back on track, and like Donald J. Trump said, America is gonna be great again. You know, when I look out and I see all the real Americans, I think about how Donald Trump, his family was compromised. When I look out there and I see Donald Trump, I think about how his business was compromised. But what happened last week when they took a shot at my hero? And they tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again. You know something, Trumpites? I didn't come here as Hulk Hogan, but I just had to give you a little taste. You know, my name is Terry Bollea. And as an entertainer, I love you too. And as an entertainer, I tried to stay out of politics. But after everything that's happened to our country over the past 4 years and everything that happened last weekend, I can no longer stay silent. I'm here tonight because I want the world to know that Donald Trump is a real American hero. And I'm proud to support my hero as the next president of this United States. You know, guys, I've known Donald Trump for over 35 years. You know, hold on a second, hold on. I just had a flashback. Man. This is really tripping. You know, the last time I was up on stage, Donald Trump was sitting at ringside at the Trump Plaza. I was bleeding like a pig, and I won the world title right in front of Donald J. Trump. And you know something? He's gonna win in November, and we're all gonna be champions again when he wins. And like I said, I've known that man for over 35 years, and he's always been the biggest patriot, and he still is. He's always told you exactly what he thought, and he still does, brother. And no matter the odds, he always finds a way to win. And when he's back in our White House, America is gonna start winning again. You know, guys, over my career, I've been in the ring with some of the biggest, some of the baddest dudes on the planet. And I've squared off against warriors, ooh yeah, savages. And I've even, like I said, body slammed giants in the middle of the ring. And I know tough guys. But let me tell you something, brother. Donald Trump is the toughest of them all. They've thrown everything at Donald Trump. All the investigations, the impeachments, the court cases, and he's still standing and kicking their butts. You know, we never had it better than the Trump years. Back then, we had a thriving economy. We had strong borders. We had safe streets. We had peace and respect around the world. But then we lost it all in a blink of an eye. Crime is out of control. The border is out of control. The price of food and gas and housing is out of control. And the only person who can clean this up is Donald Trump. You know, guys, I really, really love this country. And I've lived the American dream. And I want my kids, your kids, and all those little teeny Hulkamaniacs out there to live the American dream too. This November, guys, we can save the American dream for everyone. And Donald Trump is the president who will get the job done. So all you criminals, all you lowlifes, all you scumbags, all you drug dealers, and all you crooked politicians need to answer one question, brother. What you gonna do when Donald Trump and all the Trumpomaniacs run wild on you, brother? God bless you, and thank you.
And that's pretty messed up. If anybody thinks that's okay, because he's standing up for his friend, not only his friend, best friend, but for his country. But he was also murdered because he was dabbing in business, Real American Beer, starting up his own organization, wrestling organization that is. And there are ones that can't be trusted that was around him. One of them is Eric Bischoff. He's two-faced. Bothered him because WCW was bought, and he lost it. And the Real American Beer thing, Jimmy Hart was one of the ones looking at that too. Sort of both. But there were some details of something that came out. Wasn't too long ago, maybe a few months ago, something like that. They tried to say that Hulk Hogan died from whatever cause. Well, fact is, the doctor slash coroner slash whoever was involved was paid off secretly to make sure Hulk Hogan didn't live. Because those ones I said around him, I didn't necessarily say they did it. They could have. But they also could have a part of it. Basically what I'm saying is they had their hands in it too. So, I mean, to murder a man that was a real American for his country, it wasn't about what he said in a so-called flicked video, whatever you want to call it, a few years back. About a little video he took part in. It has nothing to do with something he said in that. It has to do with him defending the leader, the president of the United States, his friend, Donald Trump. That's when these screwballs turned their back on him. Yeah, they might not have been a supporter of Donald Trump. They were cool with Hogan until then. Some of them really believe, or to continue the stupid nonsense of that so-called video, what's messed up is some people, or a lot of people, that call others racist, this, that, whatever, are racist themselves. Usually, people that accuse are usually the guilty ones. Not all, but most. But anyway, yeah. That's why Hulk Hogan was murdered. Because he was standing up for his country, having nothing to do with what he said in that so-called video back then. Whatever flicked, whatever it's called. And then Bubba the Love Sponge, or whatever his freaking name is, going to pretend all of a sudden now to sit there and say, oh yeah, he was my best friend, he was my great friend, da, 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 da. Oh, he's going to paint a picture now. Because then he's got Hogan's daughter on the show. He's the one, or one of the ones, that betrayed Hogan that did that secret recording, and then all of a sudden, he was my best friend. Yeah, bull. All he's doing now is giving the haters something to cheer for. To act as if he was his friend when he really wasn't. Because friends don't do that, what he did. Now, I'm not saying it's okay for anybody to say any kind of racist things or any racist actions. But you're not allowed, regardless of who says or does what, whatever, you're not allowed to just record somebody of accusing or thinking they're saying something without their consent. That's a fact. Like I said, I'm not saying anything's okay. Anybody says anything racist or does anything racist, not saying it's okay at all. But that's not why Hulk Hogan was murdered. He was murdered for being a real American. Because back in the day, these people weren't even thought of. All he did was get cheered all the time back then. But then all of a sudden, a few years later, fast forward to now, around his murder, people that had him murdered were anti. That's what that was. And those that had him murdered turned cheek, face, whatever you want to call it. Well, in the wrestling business, if you're face, you're a good guy. If you're a heel, you're bad. But I'm talking about turning face. In other words, turning your back on him is what I'm saying. I don't know if it was Jimmy Hart, Eric Bischoff, or just someone else. Someone turned their back on him because all of a sudden, maybe they were for a different party. When back then they weren't. They started seeing Hogan getting successful. Like I said, the Real American Beer thing, the organization he was starting up. Well, coincidentally, that organization is now in the hands of Eric Bischoff. How about that? Think about that, what I'm saying. Because from my understanding, Hulk Hogan was also planning on, all the Hooters restaurants. From my understanding, they were having financial problems. They may eventually, I don't know, maybe close their doors eventually, I don't know. Unless they were saved somehow since then. But that was the word at the time. And from my understanding, from what I read up on, was Hulk Hogan was planning on buying the Hooters restaurants and then putting his Real American Beer through that to have like a double thing saved. What is beer thing and then saving Hooters restaurants, which is a great successful, great strategy, financial thing. When someone is becoming successful that was a success, people get jealous. And not just jealous because of that, especially if they're anti. Then they really think, how can we stop this? I don't like this. They have that in their mind. They're sick. They're nuts. Eric Bischoff was also one of the ones that were, over time, bashing my hero, Ultimate Warrior. That's a no-no. See, Bischoff was so sore of a loser, like he's always been, because WCW went down. Well, he was looking for that moment to take something, because he lost something. When Hogan had the idea of an organization, of course Bischoff was like, oh yeah, I'm all for it. Just to get his sneaky hands in something, to grab it. And that's exactly what he did. It ate him up. The WCW went down. It's not because of Hogan and NWO and all that kind of stuff when that happened back then. Bischoff saw the direction that company was going. He knew the demise of it was inevitable. So, he figured, well, the company went down. Somebody bought it, took it over, whatever, which was by Vince or Shane or both, something like that. And then Bischoff said, or was thinking, he was thinking, I got to do something. I lost that. I got to find something to replace it. Oh, when Hogan said, hey, Eric, I got an idea of an organization. Of course, Bischoff's going to say, oh, I'm all for it. Hogan trusted the wrong one. He trusted the wrong one to go to business with. Bischoff was not that one. He'd have been better off having Vince or someone, or maybe Shane. Even though, yeah, Vince was in all that trouble, he'd have had better chances of Vince doing it than Bischoff. All Bischoff was doing was looking for an opportunity to take something from someone. And he did just that. He's trying to pretend and he's all good with Hogan's son now. Hogan's son is believing Bischoff. He doesn't understand. He doesn't get it. Bischoff is a devil. Of course, Vince was too. Vince was a devil too. But Bischoff, he's nice talking Hogan's son. He wanted Hogan out of the way. And now, Hogan's son is believing that Bischoff is the guy to run it to. It's a real shame. And that documentary thing that they had on Netflix, the Hulk Hogan story thing, they're using Hulk Hogan's name to make money off of. They're using Hulk Hogan's name, and they used it to bash Ultimate Warrior too. They're only using Hogan's presence of that to take from Hogan, to bash Warrior some more. Just like the Self-Destruction DVD. While they're using Hogan's name, because they did him wrong. They did Hogan wrong. They did him dirty. They took Hogan's life. No matter how way you look at it. And now they're using his name and his legacy to squeeze out of what's left of it. And to use it to bash Warrior when Hogan and Warrior buried the hatchet. Some say they don't think it was real. Hogan and Warrior, WrestleMania 30, making up, stuff like that. I wasn't sure either. But you know what? No matter whether it's real or not, because if it wasn't real, Warrior died and now Hogan died. They both were murdered, period. I don't care what anybody says. Warrior didn't die from steroids. He didn't die from just cardiovascular disease because of steroids or whatever else. Because his dad died at a young age too. It's an inheritance thing. I'm not saying using the steroids years ago didn't take a toll on it too. It could have had a part in it. But Warrior was murdered. On his last speech, Monday Night Raw, they do this thing that's what Warrior did. Monday Night Raw, his last speech. You know what that is? That's a signal. That's a sign. The Illuminati. That's what that is. Warrior went just like that on his last speech because he was trying to tell people, his fans, his friends, everybody, viewers, whatever, fans, without saying it, that the Illuminati got to him. And then they tried to say, Billy Jack Hayes, he was nuts. He needs to be put in some mental institute, whatever. The only reason why they said that about him, because he was telling the truth about Savage and Warrior, and he tried to tell them both, don't go to the Hall of Fame, don't do it. Because he came out and said how Savage and Warrior was murdered and why, then all of a sudden they're saying, oh, he's speaking that, he don't know what he's talking about. He's nuts. He's mental. Like, he's sick. Of course they're going to say somebody's sick that's telling the truth. Of course they're going to say somebody's sick that's trying to put the word out to say about how something happened to somebody. They're going to say he's mental, sick, whatever, because they know it's true and they don't want the truth to get out. Because the truth hurts. They murdered Warrior, they murdered Hogan, they murdered Owen Hart, they murdered British Bulldog. Savage, Warrior, Hogan, Bulldog, Owen. They were all murdered. Because they were speaking out. They were exposing. And right after Owen's death, Brett, that was supposed to be his big brother, another one that keeps doing this still. I don't care who doesn't like what I'm saying or not. I'm not saying this because what Martha or Diana, whichever one was saying the stuff of Owen and Bulldog thing and Brett and all that. Owen's harness was changed. It wasn't severed. It was changed. The hook, or what's it called? The harness that he was supposed to be lowered down with was switched. But that's another story. I'll get to that in another video. But because this is about Hulk Hogan, this video. Hulk Hogan was murdered because he was a real American. The anti-American people, or anti-Hogan Trump people, whatever, didn't like it that Hogan was going to bat for Donald Trump to say, because when they took a shot at him in Butler, PA, and wherever else, Hogan said, I don't usually get involved in politics, not exact words, I don't usually get involved in politics, but you took a shot at my friend, my best friend, Donald Trump, and I couldn't take it no more. That's what he was doing. That's why he was murdered. Because before he got involved in all that, when he was in California, any arena that they had live, they cheered him. Then after he went to bat for Donald Trump, they booed him. That's why they booed him, because of political, not professional. And also because he was doing good with the Real American Beer, the wrestling organization thing, and so much more. With that said, like this video. With that said, like this video, share this video, drop your comments, let me know what you think. Anything ignorant, ridiculous, insulting comments will be deleted and blocked. But drop a comment, let me know what you think, your feedback, what you think happened to Hogan. Because when they try to say that it was that surgery that went wrong on his neck or whatever it was, or no, he had a heart problem. He had a heart problem. You know why he had a heart problem? Because they made sure he had a heart problem. That's what happened. They made sure he had a heart, maybe a heart attack, stroke, or both all in one. So they could try to sit there and say, oh, he died of natural causes, or he had a heart attack or a stroke or both. They made sure something was put in his bloodstream. They made sure, and no, it wasn't steroids. They made sure they juiced him with something. So that they could try to say, oh, there's no trace of this, that, whatever. He died of this or that. Yeah, because they were paid off. The coroner, the doctor, all that stuff. The surgeon, whatever. They were all in on it. And Bischoff couldn't wait to get his hands on that organization that Hogan was starting up. I don't trust Jimmy Hart either. Think about it. Almost everybody that Jimmy Hart's been around, something has happened to. Brian Knobbs was getting in the hospital because of his health problem. Hogan dies. I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not necessarily saying that Jimmy Hart had anything to do with any of it. I'm saying it just seems kind of odd or weird that he's around these people that something happens to. Bischoff, Jimmy Hart, and others that were acting as if they were supposed to be Hogan's friend debunked their stories. First they said one thing, and then they said something else. They changed their stories because it's a cover-up. That's why. Bottom line is, Hogan was murdered for being a stand-up real American for his country. That's why he was murdered. Not because of some video years ago. That's not why. He was murdered. Bottom line. Like this video, guys. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Anything stupid, ignorant, whatever, comment will be deleted and blocked. And don't forget to subscribe. And I will be back with another video sooner, if not later. With probably more of this story. And also the ones I mentioned earlier in this video about Owen, Bulldog Warrior, and others. Savage, and so forth. I'll be back. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe. And you'll be notified when the next video arrives. Have a rockin' day. Have a real American day. And if you really care on Hulk Hogan and his legacy, you make sure that whoever produced that video, Netflix, and anything else, give your 2 cents. Tell them what you think about it. Because they used the Netflix thing, just like the self-destruction DVD on Ultimate Warrior. Now they use the Netflix thing for the Hogan thing to bash Warrior in some way. But not just for that, so they can use Hulk Hogan's name and legacy to squeeze out of it what's left. I'm telling you, that's what it is. And they're lying to Hogan's son and his daughter. Well, you know, I mean, I don't know. Something just doesn't seem right. All of a sudden, Brooke Hogan, his daughter, is on Bubba the Love Sponge, whatever his name is, painting some picture. Well, her and her father didn't get along, from my understanding, his last days. Maybe his son thought the same. Who knows? Maybe they didn't get along either. Maybe they couldn't wait for their father to go so they could take something. Some kids are like that. I'm not saying necessarily they are, but some kids are like that. It's really a shame. Hogan should have lived longer. Warrior should have lived longer. Savage should have lived longer. Bulldog, Owen. Well, we know the thing would happen with Owen. But that's another story. That's another video. And the other ones I just mentioned. They murdered Hulk Hogan, plain and simple. For being a real American. That's why. For standing up for his country. And a great president that we have. Till next time, guys, have a real American rockin' day. What's you gonna do when the truth exposes you?